Hi and welcome to another story, and today we have part 5 of The Danger Gang by Tom Fletcher, continuing from page 209, July. Dear Danny, happy birthday! How was your party? The photos you sent in your letter look great. Who was the boy sitting next to you? The one that looked like this? Mystery boy. I don't recognise him. Is he a new kid? How old is he? Are you friends? What did he get you for your birthday? I bet it wasn't half as good as my present. It's an actual fossil of actual dinosaur poop. How gross awesome is that? I knew you'd love it. Mum helped me buy it for you, except she wanted me to get you one of those boring swirly fossils, you know, the ones that look like snails, but I knew you prefer some prehistoric bum rocks. Anyway, back to me. I'm on summer holiday now, but I have to tell you about something that happened in the last week of school before we broke up. As our end-of-term treat, Miss Tinky took us on a school trip to the Freaky Falls water park. Freaky Falls is awesome. It's got all these water slides that go upside down and twist around and round. There's even one called Tidal Force that does a loop-the-loop. Ronnie said that everyone pukes at the end. But that turned out to be a load of Ronnie rubbish, as usual. Still, it was going to be an awesome school trip because any school trip is awesome, as there are no lessons, and no lessons. We were all super excited about it. Well, everyone except Katie Speck. I hate Freaky Falls, Katie huffled in the classroom as we waited for the coach to show up. Why? I asked. As soon as I said it, I realised I already knew why, and I wished I could take it back. I'm too small, Katie whined. She jumped down out of her chair and stood up as tall as she could. Her head only just made it to the middle of the chest. Katie lives on my street too, at number 23, and she's part of the Danger Gang. She does gymnastics, and guess what? She can do an actual backflip. It's super awesome. I told her Zach Danger can do backflips, and since she'd never read Zach Danger before, I lent her the first book, and she's reading it at the moment. She's also the smallest of all of us. In fact, she's the smallest kid in the class by a long shot. I went to Freaky Falls last year with my mum, and the only slides I was tall enough to go on were the baby ones in the kids' pool, Katie said sulkily. Well, that was a year ago. You've probably grown since then, I said encouragingly. But deep down, I was thinking, there's no way you're tall enough for the puke loop slide. Don't worry, Katie. If you can't go on the water slides, you can sit with me in the picnic area. I can't go in the water, obviously. We'll have fun in the sunshine and fresh air instead, said Eric. But as we walked across the car park to the coach, there was a buzzing, whirring sound in the air around us, and I suddenly stopped mid-step. I was remembering something from that morning. As Mum had waved me off to my classroom, she'd shouted something at me, and now I had the feeling it was going to be important. Trouble is, I hadn't totally been listening. I was thinking about Zach Danger trapped in the shark-infested waters of Count Malvo's lair in Chapter 12 of Book 7, and wondering how he was going to get out of this one, and thinking I should definitely lend that book to Eric when I've finished with it. Have a great time at Freaky Falls. She definitely said that. We've won the lottery, and you won't be coming back to school tomorrow. We're moving to a mansion in Hawaii. Pretty sure she didn't say that. So what was it? And then I had it. Frankie, watch out for flying ants today. Guys, it's Flying Ant Day, I yelled. Whoever invented flying ants is a right twerp. I hope it wasn't my mum. Ants are rubbish at the best of times. If you ever leave a sandwich on the floor for a split second, you can bet there'll be an ant on it when you take a bite. I mean, who even cares if you can lift up really big leaves? That's only useful if you're an ant, and as I've already established, ants are rubbish. There's only one way I could possibly think of making ants even more annoying than they already are, and that's giving them wings, and then giving them one day every year when they all come out to have a great big stupid flying ant party, where they fly in your face, and in your can of fizzy drink, and up your nose, and in your toilet, and in your bowl of honey hoops, and on your pencil when you're writing the answer to a test so you get it wrong. Basically, flying ants are total rubbish, and even more rubbish than normal non-flying ants. When it comes to bugs, they're at the bottom of the chart. Bug awesomeness chart from cool to lame. 10 B, because they make honey, and honey hoops is the best breakfast cereal ever, and we wouldn't have it without bees. 9 praying mantis, those things look like ninja robots. 8 dragonfly, awesome name. Would you be even better if it was a dragonfly 3000 though? 7 spider, especially radioactive ones that give superpowers. 6 butterfly, anything that can transform from a gross little worm with legs into a colourful, flying, creative creature definitely deserves to be in cricket, number 5. Because in Zach Danger and the Desert of Doom, he survived for 2 weeks just by eating crickets. 4 beetle, because that's that one that rolls giant balls of dung, and dung is poop, and poop is funny. 3 worm, yeah, worms are pretty lame. Taste gross too, but they're not as lame as 2. Mosquito, so annoying. 1. Wasp, evil. 0. Ant, just why? What's the point? -1. Flying ant. I'm assuming they don't need to pass any sort of flying test before they're given these wings either, because half of them don't know which way is up and which way is my face. Get him! If you don't know what Flying Ant Day is, I'll tell you. It's the day when all the girl ants and all the boy ants come out of their little ant houses to make ant babies. Blah! I know, right? It's even worse than you first thought. As we hopped onto the coach, I swear the buzzing sound got even louder. I guess the ants were singing ant love songs to each other. I told Miss Tinky that the school should make Flying Ant Day a school holiday, so we can all just stay at home and pretend it isn't happening, but she just told me to sit down while the coach was moving. So there we were, stuck outside in our swimming costumes in the flying ant-filled fresh air all day. Every time you came up for breath, you were guaranteed to get a flying ant in the mouth. It really seemed to suck all traces of adventure out of us. Even Ronnie wasn't in the mood to muck about, and you just wanted to get this trip over and done with. We just about survived the morning. By lunchtime, Jamelia had multiple red patches on her face from where she'd tried to swat away flying ants and missed, and I'd swallowed about 7 of them. The only time we got a break from the flapping of little ant wings was when we were whizzing through the tubes of the water slides, surrounded by a force field of plastic. But poor Katie was still too short to be allowed on them, and had to wait at the bottom, watching us through a cloud of ants. Katie watched us ride Aqua Splash. "I'm sorry you're not quite big enough for this one yet, little girl," said the Freaky Falls ride operator when Katie tried to get on with us. She watched us ride H2O. "Oops, maybe next year, kiddo," said another. She watched us ride Wild Wave 3000. Great name. "This one's for big kids," another told her. She watched us ride Surf Storm. "Have you lost your mummy?" another asked her. She even had to watch us slide down Tidal Force, the ride with the loops. And I'm sorry to say, but it was as awesome as I'd hoped. "There's the lazy stream over in Thunderland, our special area for our younger visitors," suggested another ride operator. "It's slow and safe for little ones like you." After that, Katie sighed and gave up trying to get on the water slides with us. She trudged towards Thunderland and the lazy stream, which looked like it was made for really little kids to go on with their mummies and daddies. "Excuse me, Katie," called Miss Tinky. "The class needs to stay together. You can't go on water slides on your own. Thank you very much." "But no buts," she insisted. We all saw the look on Katie's flying ant-covered face as she slumped back to watch us all have fun on another awesome water slide. That's when I came up with a plan. "It's okay, Miss Tinky. We were all about to go and ride on the lazy stream, weren't we?" I hinted, shooting a look at the others. "No way," barked Ronnie, missing the point as usual. "Yes, we were," insisted Susie, nodding at me. "Isn't the lazy stream a bit small and slow for you lot?" asked Miss Tinky, eyeing up the slowest ride in Freaky Falls. "Nah, the slower the scarier," I lied. "The lazy stream seems brilliant," added Molly. Miss Tinky looked puzzled, but shook her head. "Very well then, off you go. Be back in an hour, please. Katie, your friends are coming with you." "Thanks, guys. You really don't have to, though," Katie said, her face red with embarrassment as we wandered into Thunderland. The place was packed with 3-year-olds and their parents splashing in the little fountains of water that spouted up through the non-slip padded floor. It was armband central, and we were the oldest kids there by a long shot. "Right, what shall we go on?" Jamelia said, looking around at the selection of awful attractions such as Slippy Slow Slide, which was definitely slow but not very slippy, Shallow Showers, where a plastic elephant sprayed a gentle mist from its trunk every few minutes, and of course the lazy stream, that gently trickled its way around the whole of Freaky Falls. It was no deeper than your average puddle, and you had to sit in these lame inflatable rings. Snore. But the most boring attraction of all was Mini Freaky Falls, which was just a replica of Freaky Falls, but really, really small, and all you could do was look at it. You had to watch tiny little model people bob up and down in tiny little model pools and slide their way down the water slides before being dragged up on a mini conveyor belt to slide down them again. I mean, what grown-up in their right mind thought it would be remotely interesting to build everything just really small? "Well, I guess we start on the lazy stream," Jamelia said, trying to sound a little excited for Katie. "Yeah, I guess," she said with a sigh. As we approached the ride, a Freaky Falls employee dressed as a mermaid appeared, wearing a wiry green wig and big green foam mermaid tail. She smiled at us, but before closing the gate to the ride and hanging a sign on it that said, "Lazy Stream temporarily closed. Sorry kids, the ride got struck by lightning a few months ago and it's been flowing faster and faster every day since. We've had a few complaints from parents today, so maintenance are on their way to slow it down. We'll have it up and running again for your next visit. the mermaid said, giving us a cheery swish of her tail. My heart did a loop-the-loop in the chest. This ride was struck by lightning a few months ago. Thank goodness it's closed, I thought to myself, but I thought too soon. Oh, but please, can't you let us on, just us, for one lap around the stream, begged Molly. I tried my best to catch everyone's eye, to warn them that we didn't want to go on this ride after all, but they were too busy trying to convince the mermaid to notice. This is our friend Katie, and she's too small to ride any of the fast rides, added Jamelia. Ronnie shoved Katie in front of the Freaky Falls mermaid, and Katie did her best, sad face, which was really convincing because she was actually gutted about the whole situation. The mermaid sighed and looked over her shoulder to see if anyone was looking. Okay, she said, but just one lap then. I've got to close it, okay? Everyone cheered, everyone except me, and ran past the mermaid and into the lazy stream, which was definitely the worst water ride I've ever been on. Obviously, everything in my brain was telling me that not to go on the ride. I mean, I now knew that this ride had been struck by lightning in the storm. That was the storm that had led to Charlie's freaky hamster being born, and the more I'd been thinking about it, the more I was convinced it was the storm that had given Molly and Eric their crazy abilities too. I just had a feeling that going on the ride would only lead to, well, something you're about to find out about. So there we were, sitting in inflatable donuts and floating around, with Eric waving us off. See you downstream, said the mermaid, as the water carried us away, so slowly. This is rubbish, grunted Ronnie, splashing his fist in the water, forgetting how shallow it was and punching the floor. No, it isn't. I like it, said Molly loyally, glancing at Katie. Katie shrugged. It's okay. Ronnie's right. This is super lame. I'm sorry you all had to come on here with me. Being small sucks. We were quiet for a moment. Suddenly, Charlie flung his arms up in the air and started screaming as though he was riding the fastest water slide in the whole of Freaky Falls. Everyone cracked up laughing and joined in, and before we knew it, we were swaying left and right in unison, round imaginary bends, holding our breath as we dived through invisible waterfalls and screaming with fear over stomach-churning drops that didn't exist. As we splashed and swayed, I couldn't help but notice that the water was beginning to change colour. What was once a pale blue stream was turning a little greener with every splash of our imaginary water ride, until we were all floating through flowing, luminous green water. Katie hadn't noticed. She was laughing so hard she could hardly breathe. That was the best ride ever, she cheered as we splashed into the exit. I guess being small isn't all that bad if you have a big imagination. We climbed out of our donuts and onto the bank of the stream and shouted, "Thanks," to the mermaid as we went through the exit, but the mermaid didn't reply. "We said thank you," repeated Katie. Again, the mermaid said nothing. Not only that, she was perfectly still, in exactly the same position she'd been in when we got on the ride. Okay, Danny, here's where things get really freaky, and I just want to prepare you so you don't scream. Here we go, then. We walked over to the mermaid to check that she was okay, but as we got closer, we could see that something wasn't quite right. Something had changed about her. Her wiry green wig wasn't wiry anymore. It looked like it was made of solid plastic. And it wasn't just her hair that looked like this. So did her swishy foam tail, and her face, and her hands. "Are you okay?" asked Katie, stepping a little closer to her and reaching out her dripping wet hand. But as she touched the mermaid's shoulder, her body toppled forward, and she fell face first to the ground with a loud smack. Everyone gasped, as we all saw that the mermaid was now made entirely of plastic. "What's going on?" Ronnie asked, looking alarmed. "I'm not sure," replied Susie, "but whatever happened to the mermaid must have happened to them too." She pointed at the crowd of young kids with their parents, who'd been splashing around Thunderland and who were now frozen like plastic models. Suddenly the ground started shaking. "Earthquake!" Charlie screamed. Boom! 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 An enormous face appeared in the sky above us. "I don't think that was an earthquake," I said to Charlie. "It was a giant! Run!" We ran for cover as the enormous person towered over us. Then an even bigger giant appeared next to the first one and pointed down at us. "You see, son, it's a model of Freaky Falls," he said, smiling. "What's the point of that?" the kid giant scoffed before running away, causing the ground to shake around us. We all stared at each other for a moment, trying to take in the words that we had just heard. "Guys, I don't think we're in Freaky Falls anymore," I said, staring out into the perfect replica of the water park that we were now standing in. "We're in Mini Freaky Falls." "That's great, Danny. We had shrunk. Something had happened to us when we went on that lazy stream, and we were now standing inside the model." I knew as soon as I'd heard the words "struck by lightning," that I should have shouted, "It's danger time," and we would have all just run away as fast as we could. "Help!" Ronnie started screaming. "Somebody help us!" "I don't think they can hear you," Susie said, as we watched the little kids, who were now enormous little kids, sploshing around the full-sized park in the distance. Suddenly there was a great crash of water behind us, and we whipped around to see the model of tidal force, said Katie in delight. It was right there in front of us, an exact replica of that amazing water slide. Let's go, Katie cried, as she ran over to the entrance. There was a model of the ride operator, and Katie stood next to the model of the height indicator. Well, technically, I'm still too small to go on this, she said, but it's not like he's going to stop you, is it? Grinned Ronnie, waving his hand in front of the ride operator's frozen plastic face. Let's ride, I shouted, and with that we all leapt on tidal force, racing our way to the top of the tower and diving into the tubes of rapidly flowing water. After that it was aqua splash, followed by H2O, straight onto Wild Wave 3000, then Surf Storm. That was amazing, screamed Katie at the top of her tiny lungs at the end of every water slide. This is the best school trip ever! But just then we heard a strange sound, carried on a gust of wind that swirled our dripping wet hair over our faces as we looked around, trying to work out where it was coming from. It was a deep, deafening noise from overhead, like army helicopters coming into land, except this wasn't army helicopters. Remember what day it was, Danny? That's right. It's a swarm of giant flying ants, I yelled. Whoa, we all cried. The wind from their powerful wings beat down on us as they performed a flyby of the model water park we were standing in, like fighter planes in an air show. I think they're coming back, screamed Katie, pointing to the sky as the flying ants wheeled around. They dived down low and weaved in and out of the fake buildings before landing in the middle of the Thunderland section to take a drink from the shallow pools of water. Get lost, screamed Ronnie as he shooed away these horse-sized ants. Awesome, whispered Charlie. Wild ants. Flying ants, added Katie. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Asked Charlie, staring with wonder at the giant insects. With the power of hindsight, I can safely say that none of us were thinking what Katie and Charlie were thinking, as you will now see from what they did next. They ran straight towards the largest of the group of ants and leapt onto its back. First, it's giant hamsters. Now it's giant ants, yelled Charlie. Flying ants, cried Katie, as the ant spread his wings and shot into the air. We watched, and our jaws hit the floor. Well, I guess we'd better go after them, Molly said. A few nervous minutes later, we were all sitting on our own flying ant, and together we shot into the air, whooshing faster than any water slide in Freaky Falls. The ants zoomed us around the perfect formation, just like the red arrows. Look, there's Katie and Charlie, Ronnie shouted, spotting our friends in the distance, as they dive-bombed the ride operator who hadn't let Katie ride Tidal Force. We caught up with them and raced our flying ants round Freaky Falls, weaving in and out of people's heads, diving low under dripping wet feet. Katie even managed to reach out and scoop a handful of Eric's ice cream as she whizzed past the picnic area. I love being small, she cried through a mouthful of vanilla ice cream. And we all replied with a cheer. Being small was awesome. Then, as we soared high over the water park, we saw the coach that was to take us back to school pull up outside and Miss Tinky searching for us. How are we going to grow up? Called Ronnie from his flying ant. You could try tucking your shirt in and washing regularly, replied Molly. No, I mean, grow big, shouted Ronnie. We can't stay small forever. I already knew the answer to that. The whole thing had started with lightning magic, and it could only be ended with lightning magic. Follow me. I called over the buzzing of my ant's wings, and I dived back towards the model water park. We landed our flying ants in the middle of a miniature Thunderland, and I led everyone back to the lazy stream for one final ride. We climbed into the donuts and began our second voyage round the world's slowest water ride, complete with green sparks and flickers as we bobbed along the lightning-struck stream. As we floated into the exit, the mermaid was standing on the bank, waiting for us, her wiry wig blowing in the breeze. Welcome back to Thunderland, she chirped. We leapt out of the stream and ran back into the busy, full-sized world. We'd made it out alive and were normal size again, just in time for Miss Tinky to come marching into Thunderland looking for us. Where have you been? I said 1 hour. I've been looking for you everywhere, she snapped. Sorry, Miss Tinky. We had a little adventure, Katie grinned, and we all cracked up. Well, the coach is here, and you all need to dry off and get changed, she said, ushering us towards the changing rooms. And that was the end of the best school trip ever, and why Flying Ant Day now might be my favourite day of the year. Right back soon. Frankie. P.S. Shadow update. Spotted at Freaky Falls outside the gift shop to Tidal Force. I lost sight of it when a big family walked past. But it looked like this. It's the shadow of a person, right? Except that there was no one around. And that is where we will leave part 5 of The Danger Gang by Tom Fletcher. I'll be back soon with the next part of this fantastic story, and lots more stories and videos coming your way very soon. If you'd like to subscribe or hit a like, that's always appreciated. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.